My name's Don Samuelak. I'm President U.S. Operations at Editage, Cactus Communications, and I have the pleasure and honor of being here at the Digital Science offices in the Macmillan Building of Science and Education in London in the UK, and speaking with Euan, who's founder and CEO of Altmetric. Welcome.
Hi, Don.
So we've known each other for a while, and we've talked about a lot of things, and I recognize that you are certainly doing some very interesting things, and digital science is doing some very interesting things with the companies under its prevail. So maybe you can just give a context for how you launched Altmetric, how you got into it, what types of things you're trying to solve for the author community.
Yeah. So interestingly, Altmetric came out of my experience as an author. I haven't been a researcher for a long time, about 10 years, but when I was in the lab, I worked in bioinformatics. And to cut a long story short, one of the problems with bioinformatics is you can't publish bioinformatics software papers in Nature or Science or PNAS. So at the time, anyway, that was a problem because my department was being pressed into looking for high-impact publications. So literally my head of department said, stop publishing frequently in smaller journals, save up all your work, make it a big project, and then get it published in something with a really high impact factor. And Altmetrics is kind of a way of addressing that. It's like realizing, that this is a problem for some types of research, that not everything is, biomedical research that can be encapsulated in a paper and then published in some of these journals. And also, a reaction to the fact that the impact factor isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all of, certainly not quality in scientific research.
Well, certainly the impact factor is a representation of the journal. It's not a representation of the paper.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not that there's, it's a terrible thing, I think. If you kind of delve into the metrics community, you see quite a strong backlash against the impact factor. I'm a bit more balanced. I think it's useful for a lot of different things. What it's not useful for is exactly what you just hinted at, which is painting all the papers in the same journal with the same brush.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've often said to Asian authors and authors in general whenever I give a talk is your CV today, or your CV before, was a line item of your papers, and it was just it was a catalog of where you had published. And now I profess that your CV has to be much more dynamic. Even on paper, you need to have the line item, which is the article, the impact factor, downloads, page views, and alternative metrics. And alternative metrics can be many of the things that are captured by Altmetric. And to me, that is the necessity CV of the future, because it not only archives where you've published, but it shows the impact of the paper that you've had, the quality of journal that it's in, and its what I'll call social impact. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about what Altmetric does for the people who aren't necessarily knowledgeable about the company.
Yeah, so Altmetric collects all the information we can find about an article online, all the different kind of places where it's been discussed or shared or used in some way. So as an example, if you take an article report that we generate, it might have some news stories that were written about the paper listed. There may be some activity on social media, people talking about the paper. And those people could be other researchers, or they could be members of the public, or other interested parties. So you can imagine, we see medical papers being talked about by patient and patient advocate groups, for example. And then moving more into the kind of using space rather than discussing, things like policy documents. So, again, not to focus too much on medical, but if it's a medical paper, was it cited by the WHO or in national health guidelines, this kind of thing. And the same is true for other fields. We do economics papers, we do stuff around the social sciences, around mathematics, physics, all this kind of stuff as well.